Hi, my name is Megan Sweet, and I'm the founder and CEO of Your Three Eyes. I am a lifelong educator. I have 25 years in education as a teacher, a school administrator, a district administrator, and a consultant for statewide projects here in California. I'm also the mother of an amazing 10-year-old son who I love very, very much. And I'm a big fan of mindfulness. So I meditate every day. It's part of what I do for my career. And it's a big part of what I think is the key to educational transformation. So the problem that Your Three Eyes is trying to solve really is helping us to create the changes that we seek through understanding ourselves and our education systems in greater depth. And often it seems to me, after all these years in education, that we use the wrong tools sometimes to help us to identify what we want to fix. So we look at those external indicators of failure or success in a school, such as test scores or attendance rates or other things, but never get to actually the interpersonal interactions and other elements of education that I think actually have a greater influence. Those other things are important, but I just think they are symptoms rather than the source of what we need to do to change. So I want to help us to get to the source. I think that we need to get to the source by looking at people. So really, this is a quote from Anais Nin, and it says that, we don't see things as they are, we see things as we are. And I think that's really crucial for us to remember when we're working in education. Teachers come in with their own lifetimes and backgrounds and cultural experiences. So do students, so do families, so do our peers, but we don't often take the time to get to know and understand how those influences are shaping the way we show up, the assumptions that we make, how we understand or interpret our students, the role that implicit bias plays in education and how we see each other. And I think we really need to get to that point to understand all of those motivators and those kind of hidden elements of how we show up to be able to better change our education system. The way I think we need to learn to see then is through three different eyes. In education, we spend a lot of time on the intellect part. That's the logical thinking and reasoning. That's a lot of what schools are set up to do. We don't do as much with insight, and that's really that deep understanding and knowing of ourselves. Helps us to understand our beliefs, our cultural backgrounds, our experiences, and it's kind of like perspective taking, so we can start to gather some understanding about who we are or who our students are through understanding those elements of ourselves. And then finally, intuition, which to me is mindfulness, but also learning to get out of our heads and into our hearts and connect our heads and our hearts a little bit more closely, and to gain knowledge that we can't get just from our intellectual thinking alone. When we put those three together, you have the three eyes. And to me, that's like three-dimensional seeing. So just as a flat, fuzzy image, a 3D image is almost unrecognizable when it's as a 3D image. When you put on those glasses, suddenly that image gets depth and clarity and perspective that it doesn't have when you just look at the image alone. And really, that's the way I think about the three eyes. The way we work with the three eyes is through a self-work, schoolwork cycle. So I think that the way to transform education is to really start with ourselves first and to learn how to understand our own motivations, gain a deeper and more meaningful relationship with ourselves, so that we're able to enter and stay difficult conversations in our educational settings with a little bit more clarity and purpose. We're able to do that, then we're ready for the schoolwork. And the schoolwork includes building a culture of trust and accountability at schools, and that culture of trust then allows us to collaborate and transform our schools in a way that we couldn't do if we don't get below some of those below the surface motivations and interactions we have with one another. You'll see off to the left and right, there's for self-work, it leads to personal development and empowerment, and for schoolwork, it leads to high quality and inclusive learning spaces. And so once we start to learn with those three eyes and start to gather some kind of individual relationship with ourselves, but also build on and develop stronger relationships with our colleagues, then we're really ready to start to do some school transformation. And the way we do that in my program is called Creating Change with Heart. And we learn to use a cycle of inquiry. So we start to work with a classic cycle of inquiry that many educators use all the time. This is a known quantity for us, but really we start to gather data. We learn about ourselves and start to create changes within ourselves, but we also can learn about our schools and our systems and learn how to create change there. And really the beauty of this process is that both can and should happen at the same time. So we should have kind of self-work goals and schoolwork goals that are being implemented at the same time, and that can be measured and moved through in a cycle of inquiry that really fits well with school settings. I wrote a book about it. This book is really important to me, and it's something I really believe in. It's about how to use our three eyes to help, again, with our self work on ourselves and learn about ourselves, but also how we work in our schools. And finally, there's lots of ways to go deeper, and I'm ready to go deeper with all of you. So there's free resources available on my website, www.your3eyes.com, which is where you are right now. There's a blog, there's 2 podcasts, we have lots of downloads. There's also various courses you can take with me, some of them in person, some of them online, including a beliefs lab, the cycle, which is a way to do that self-work school work together, and Mindfulness for Leaders, which is a 2-day in-person training I got training on from Search Inside Yourself Leadership Institute. And there's also something that I really want to encourage folks to take advantage of, which is personal coaching. So personal coaching is one-on-one mentoring for folks to help them to access and use their three eyes. And it also can be professional coaching around addressing an issue in your setting that you want to learn how to improve more deeply. And coaching sometimes gets a bad rap as being really woo-woo or touchy-feely, but really to me, it's about giving people space to be heard and having someone hold that space so that you have the time and energy and perspective to really come up with your own answers. And that's what we do in my coaching. So thank you so much, and I look forward to working with you.